Hi guys, it's Natalie from Formula Femme Fatale with the second episode of our podcast YouTube channel. We're going to talk about the spring break between the Australian Grand Prix and the Baku race, and then we'll talk about the Baku race and the whole new setup they had this past weekend, and then the actual race. So starting off with some stuff from the spring break, Lewis Hamilton, he went and watched his little brother race with hiding. He was not trying to be seen, so he actually had a hoodie, he had a mask on, he was hiding, and he said that it was probably one of the best experiences he's had because he just got to sit there and watch his little brother without people coming up to him, and everything was about his brother. His brother has cerebral palsy, which I know is hard, and he is out there proving people wrong and racing. I believe that he got sixth place in his race, which is amazing. Another thing, Ferrari tried to appeal the penalty for Carlos Sainz from the Australian Grand Prix, and they denied it. So that is staying, unfortunately. I think the FIA just wants us Ferrari fans to be sad about all the races. As of 25 April, drivers can use extra engines. I'm not sure what that means for Charles's penalty from the Saudi Arabia race when he had to use a new power unit. Stay tuned. I guess we'll see what that means later on. I think a lot of us are kind of confused where that came from. AlphaTauri's team principal, Franz, is stepping down, and Ferrari's assistant team principal and race director is going to replace him. So what does that mean for Ferrari with Laurent leaving? I'm not sure. I guess we'll see who's going to come into that place for Ferrari and what they'll do for them. There's been a new format of adding sprints to some of the weekends. Baku was the first of the season that implemented that. So Friday you had your free practice one, and then you had qualifying on Friday as well. That sets up the grid for Sunday's race. And then on Saturday you have the sprint shootout, which sets up the grid for the sprint race, which is later that afternoon. And then you have your race on Sunday. It's a little bit funky. Max Verstappen has been pretty vocal about not liking it and that he might leave if it becomes a permanent thing on the weekends. He doesn't want the format of the weekends to change too much. There's also been rumors of Charles Leclerc talking to Mercedes. He came out and denied it. He is not talking to Mercedes. He is very happy with Ferrari, as he says. He has faith in them and that he does not want to leave. I think that has to do with the fact that his godfather Jules wanted to drive for Ferrari and he just wants to prove it. And that touches home. That's super, super sweet. And I know he has a lot on his plate. So Charles is staying with Ferrari as of now. There's also been rumors of Fernando Alonso dating Taylor Swift. Don't know how those came about, but very interesting rumors. He has yet to officially confirm or deny. He's been using Taylor Swift sounds on TikToks. And when people ask him, he's like, I've already answered. And he's just kind of avoiding it. I think he's having fun with it. I really don't think there's anything going on between him and Taylor Swift, but it's a funny rumor. There's another theory that Charles Leclerc is going to be world champion this year. I think that comes from us Ferrari delusional fans. And the theory is because Max Verstappen did not finish race 1 and 3 in 2022, that Charles Leclerc is going to be world champion this year because he did not finish race 1 and race 3. We'll just take that with what it is. Us delusional Ferrari fans are going to hold on to every small thing that we can. Moving on into the Baku race itself, qualifying went well for the most part for most people. Charles Leclerc got pole with 1 minute, 40 seconds, and 203 milliseconds. That's his third time in Baku getting pole. Third time in a row. Then Max Verstappen got P2 and Sergio Perez got P3 in qualifying. So that set the top three. And at one point during qualifying, Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc actually had the exact same time, which just shows that Ferrari is competitive. They've just been having some issues the past couple of races. They still are competitive, and they're trying to prove that, which I think this race really did. Carlos Sainz got position 4 in qualifying, which just is a good day for Ferrari overall. Qualifying 1, Nick De Vries and Pierre Gasly both crashed on turn 3 and got a red flag. So that kind of sucks for them. But everybody's okay. Cars are okay. Sprint shootout. Charles was on P1. Lost his front wing at the end of the shootout, qualifying 3, whatever you want to call it. Checo was on P2 and Max Verstappen was on P3. Then Lance Stroll crashed into a wall at turn 15 and got another red flag. So that's 3 red flags in the 2 qualifying rounds of the qualifying and sprint shootout. Yeah. Sprint, Checo took P1 and Charles Leclerc took P2 and Max Verstappen took P3. It's a 17 lap race. It's basically like you take the race and you condense it into like a way shorter thing, which I guess makes sense called a sprint. But it's definitely an interesting thing because if people are crashing, you're having issues and fixing the cars, but you have the race the next day. So you really don't have that much time to fix the cars as you would if you had a qualifying round and then you had like all of this time in between to fix it until the race, rather than you have qualifying, then you have another version of qualifying, and then you have a mini race and then the race. You don't really have enough time to fix those issues if they're major ones. During the sprint, Yuki Tsunoda hit a wall and lost his tire. There's been some funny memes that came out with him going down the hill and like the tire coming after him. It's an unfortunate incident, but there has been some light made of it. Lance Stroll was not in the sprint because of the crash in the sprint shootout. Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz are showing that Ferrari is still in the game, and Lando Norris has been proving that McLaren still has some competitiveness left. They're not a tractor, as people will call them. He got P7 in qualifying, making up for the first few races. If we're going in and talking about the actual race, Baku has been known to be kind of an eventful race. There's usually some crashes and stuff like that, but there really wasn't much. It was very tame compared to past races. So as I said earlier, qualifying sets up the race grid. Charles was on pole, Max was on P2, and Checo was on P3. Quickly, Max and Checo overtook Charles, unfortunately, but he still kept his head in the game and he was pushing hard. Like, he was proving that not only does Ferrari have a somewhat competitive car still, but that he is a very good driver. He was showing all of his skills, he was pushing it, and I think he did a really good job. And that's not just me talking as a Ferrari fan. Nick De Vries stopped on the track, which caused a yellow flag. Carlos and Fernando, they kept going back and forth between P4 and P5, and it was like a battle to the end between the Spaniards. Ended up, Fernando got P4 and Carlos got P5, but still a really good day for Ferrari because we still got points on the board. It's, again, fairly tame race. There wasn't really much going on other than the highlights of this. McLaren, Lando Norris got points and Yuki Tsunoda got points, which is awesome. And then I think the most interesting part or most exciting part of the whole race is the fact, or like drama, I guess, is that Esteban Ocon went to go pit on like the second to last or last lap. And for some reason, there were media people, like interviewers and everybody like in the pit lane still during the race. And they had to sprint out of the way because he was coming through, and that's a fast car. It's moving pretty quickly. I think that could have been a really, really bad incident if those people didn't realize that he was coming when they did. And I'm glad they moved out of the way. Everybody's okay. I think that people just need to make sure that they're off the pit lanes even until the race is 100% done, because people still pit second to last lap, and that just, it could have been really bad. Finishing up on the race, your top 3 from qualifying are still your top 3 for the race, but a little reversed. Checo took P1, Max got P2, and Charles got P3. So that was a really good day for Red Bull, as Checo got P1 on both the shootout, or the sprint, and the race. So that's getting him a bunch of points. And they're calling him the king of the streets, which he really is. He does really well on street circuits. Max got P2, so that's more points for Red Bull. And Charles got P3, again, showing that he is competitive to still be considered within this tournament. On another note, there's some big exciting news regarding Daniel Ricciardo. There's been rumors that he's going to be on the track at some point soon with racing at some point. I'm not sure exactly what that means, because he is technically the reserve driver for Red Bull. So if he's back on the grid, who are they taking off the grid for that race? Are they going to try and figure out how to have 3 Red Bull racers? I'm really not sure. But Daniel Ricciardo also went to the Met Gala this past weekend, and he looked fabulous. You could tell that he was just super excited about being there. His big goofy smile was there. And it was just a great ending to a pretty decent weekend when it comes to the races. He hopefully will be back at some point, but that is all I have for the highlights of the Baku race and the spring break. I'm sure there's more, but Miami starts today. We have practice, we have qualifying, and then we have the race, so stay tuned. As of next week, we'll have the Miami video out and podcast. So I hope that you guys like this and keep following. Thank you.